Hello, friends. Hello. I am waiting for my guest to arrive, and it should be very exciting. So, please say hi as you are hopping on. I am very first time hosting a live where I bring someone on. So, hello. Oh, thank you for the presents. So I will be going live with my Reflector guest in a second. I'm waiting for her to get here. And then we will start her reading. So invite another host and go live together. Yes, that's what I would like to do. Okay. Okay, again, I'm just waiting. Join through the invite you shared. Perfect. Okay. So I see that she is here. I'm trying to bring her on the screen. This is so interesting because I have never done this before. All right, let's see. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. And please say hello as you're coming in here. Panel. Allow requests from viewers. Can you actually request to join me live, Angela? That would be great. I'm trying to get Angela on live so we can start going through her chart. My goal is to talk to her about her reflector design and really give you guys an insight into what a human design reading is, what kind of information it can give you, and why it's so insightful. And I'm trying to bring her on live here so that she can be with us, and I have never done that before. So it says live access is needed to go live. Oh, okay. Well then, that did not work out as I expected. Okay, so I'm going to just start talking about her reading. She is on live. And Angela, you are in the comment section. Oh, thank you so much. You are in the comment section. So as I'm chatting, if you could comment, response, and then everybody, hi, Diana, everybody can see your answers. They can all read them. So that would be really helpful for them. I have her, by the way, this is what her chart looks like. And this is what's so unique about the Reflector body graph is that it is completely white. There's no centers colored in at all. And so the people who have a body graph that look like this one are only like 1% of the population. It's exceptionally rare, and I consider myself very blessed that I have such a close friend who happens to be a reflector. And if you do not know what your design is, let me kick this off by saying this. If you don't know what your design is, there is a website called geneticmatrix.com. And if you go to that website, Angela can type it in the comments to help out. You put in your birth information like you would an astro chart, and you're going to get, instead of a natal chart, you're going to get a body graph that looks like this, okay? And then it's going to tell you over here, it's going to say your type. And that's really the information that you need is type. Okay, so what you're gonna do with that is a couple of things. If you go to my bio link, I have a downloadable for you that teaches you how to live in alignment according to your aura type, which is what this is referring to, your aura type. I also just finished recording some intro courses for each aura type. So if you're brand new to human design and you don't know anything about it and you want to learn about your aura type, these intro classes are perfect for that. If you go into the Sovereign Social, which is my free community, also my bio link, you can go to courses in the tab section and see all of the intro courses by design. So far, the feedback for the intro courses has been amazing and really enlightening. So it's a great place for you to start if you're just beginning your human design journey. Oh, thank you so much for the presents. Okay, so let's talk about what it means to be a reflector. When you are a reflector, when you are this undefined in your chart, what this essentially means is that you are a highly sensitive, highly perceptive being. Because you are so undefined, you actually don't experience any of these centers consistently. You don't have consistent access to any of these centers. And so a couple of things are true as a result of that. The first is that you're very susceptible to conditioning. Because you're so undefined, because you have so little definition in your chart, you could easily be influenced by the definition of other people's charts. So typically, reflector children in their homes when they're growing up, if they have extremely defined parents or like manifesting generator parents, which are like the total opposite of a reflector because they move very quickly and they do a lot, versus a reflector which moves super slowly and doesn't do a lot, they can really grow up with this complex about not being like quick enough or not being like multi-passionate enough, or they kind of grow up in the shadow of all the conditioning of their parent growing up. And then she's also saying that she changes personalities depending on who she's around. That's exceptionally true. One of the things about the reflector is that their environment is incredibly important. Because they're so open, because they're so undefined, their environment really determines how they're going to act, how they're going to behave. So if you take a reflector and you put them in a very toxic environment, it is highly likely that they are going to end up really sick or in really abusive situations or something like that. Because the thing about that aura, because it's a sampling aura and because it so easily receives from everything that's around it, is that enmeshment is one of the downsides to that aura. You can easily become enmeshed with the aura of other people, with the definition of other people, and create these codependent situations that are really unhealthy. And so where you are is really important, and not just like the people that are in your space, but also where you live. What city do you live in? What state do you live in? What job, like where do you work? The spaces where you are incredibly important if you are a reflector, because all of that determines how you're going to experience yourself and experience your energy. Okay? So, as 1% of the population, so Angela is speaking and saying that both of her parents were manifesting generators, and that her ex and the relationship she was in with her ex-partner was very toxic. That he happened to be a toxic individual, and because of how undefined she is, she just reflected that right back to him. And as a reflector, that's exactly what you do. You are like a mirror for your environment. So depending on where you are going to just be reflecting that right back. There's another component of Angela's chart that makes her very much a mirror for people, and we'll get to that in a second. Right now we're just talking about her aura type and the fact that she's like all white, pretty much. She said she didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, she sees it. The thing about reflectors is that they are purely lunar beings. So out of all of the design types, this is the only design type that does not have an inner authority. Every other design type does. So manifestors have their internal creative flow that they follow. Generators are responding to signs from the universe. Projectors are waiting to be invited, waiting to be recognized to engage. But reflectors do not have that. What reflectors have is an intimate relationship to the cycles of the moon. And tracking the moon becomes exceptionally important for a reflector to understand their own rhythms. because the strategy and the authority of a reflector, because for a reflector, their strategy or how they play the game of life and their authority, how they make decisions, is the same, is to wait a lunar cycle, to wait 28 days to make any major decision. They need time. They need space. They're not meant to make quick, fast decisions. And in this society, that's very difficult because we're used to that. We're used to the quick and the fast, and you need to know right now, like, what you're deciding and what you're going to do. For reflector design, that just doesn't work because they are lunar beings. And so one of the things that I share with my reflector clients and my reflector students is get familiar with the cycles of the moon. Get familiar with what it feels like when the moon is waxing, meaning it's getting bigger and brighter and headed towards full, versus waning, meaning the energy is depleting and it's going towards new. Get familiar with that, right? And if you're I have a membership that tracks transits, so it's called Transits and Tarot inside of the Sovereign Social. And in there, I share with you what's happening transit-wise. That's very helpful because reflectors are extremely sensitive to transits because they are so undefined. Angela said that she struggles to not rush herself, but she has learned that I do it naturally sometimes. I put off doing something and then never get around to it. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if being raised by two manifesting generators created this sense of urgency in you that was pretty constant, because manifesting generators do not stop moving. They are just this ball of energy and they are constantly producing. And so I think it's very common to find that children of mangens who aren't mangens themselves really struggle with keeping up with the pace of their parents. That's often quite the case. So how accurate has been my description of like a reflector and their strategy and authority for you personally, Angela? Like my description, how accurate has that been in your life? She said she never had the energy to keep up, and my brother and sister are non-energy types as well. So she said this description has been dead on. And I remember when I gave Angela her reading initially, it like blew her mind. And I really feel like your reading, Angela, like initiated you into like really living a more authentic life. It was like the permission that you needed to like really explore yourself. It was super, super powerful. Thank you so much for the presents. No, today we're doing a reading for a reflector. If you want to learn about your projector design, I mentioned earlier that I do have intro courses for each aura type available on the sovereignsocial.com, which is my community space, my free community space. So if you really want to learn about your type, you can go there. My goal is to bring on live. This is sort of like a beta test right now, to bring on live people with different types and to talk about their charts specifically. And so I will have a projector on. I myself am a projector, so I might just do my own chart for you guys on live possibly next week. All right, so let's talk about your profile lines, Miss Angela. So she is saying that she learned so much with the initial reading and it made life make sense. So she was able to understand why she did things a certain way, and she could lean into more natural cycles for herself. Ooh, another projector. Hello, welcome. You know, I will say I find that projectors are we love systems. So we are the people that are drawn to things like astrology and human design because we love systems. We love things that explain how something works. That really gets to us. So this is something that we're really drawn to. So if I cannot find a projector who will come on live with me for next week, then I will do my own chart for you guys, since there's a lot of interest. So your profile line, which is the next thing you're going to see right here under type, is she is a 3-5 profile. So profile lines are 1 through 6, and this is based on the I Ching. Okay, so the Chinese I Ching. And profile lines, the first 3 profile lines, 1, 2, and 3 are what's called personal. And then the larger profile lines, 4, 5, and 6, are considered interpersonal, or like intrapersonal, you can say, having to do with others. Now, what a profile line is, or the combination of those two numbers, is what Ra, who is a transcriber of this wisdom, called the costume of your purpose. So this is how your purpose shows up. And in my experience, it's the major themes to any individual's life. So for example, Angela is a 3-5. The 3 is what I call the scientist of the profile lines. We make a lot of mistakes. I'm a 1-3, so I also have a 3 in my profile lines. We are the trial and error profile line. We live a life based on making quote unquote mistakes. And the thing about that is that we experiment with life. We're very active in the experiment of life. We run into life head first, and as a result, we make a lot of mistakes. It's not uncommon to find that many 3 lines are divorced very young. That's part of their experiment, is experiencing something like marriage and often rushing into it out of like an exuberance and then realizing that was not correct for them. So 3 lines are known as the martyr in traditional human design, and in quantum human design we call them the explorers, which I think is a great name for them. And so as an explorer, Angela is here to learn by trial and error. And the wisdom of the 3 line is that they then get to teach from a place of experience because they've done so much, because they've struggled so much. They get to teach and serve from a place of experience. My son is a generator 4-6, which is super cool. We share a 6 together. So the 6 line, I just want to mention this because it's related to the 3. The 6 line, for the first 30 years of a 6 line's life, you pretty much behave like a 3 line. So for the first half of your life, you're very, very much in the 3 line energy until you go to what's called the roof of your life as a 6 line, because 6 lines have a very triphasic nature to their life. But yeah, so 3 lines are the natural scientists. They are constantly experimenting with their world and with reality. And her 5 line, in traditional human design, the 5 is known as the heretic. And in quantum human design, we call it the visionary leader. Now, the thing about 5 lines is that they are mirrors. So here Angela has another aspect of her chart, which is very mirroring other people, reflecting to other people. And the projections onto you can be either positive or negative. Either people will project to you that you're a savior to them, that you can fix their problems, that you can, you know, I don't know, be a savior is the only way I can really describe that. Or they're going to project onto you that you're like a devil and you're the reason their life sucks. They're going to project all the negativity onto you. So it goes either way. The thing about the 3-5 combination in particular is these are people who know that something's amiss because of their 3 line. They can see that something's not working, that something is like incorrect, or that because of their experience, they can perceive what's not working. And with their 5 line, they have the capacity to direct people to what is working. They are able to point people into the direction of, okay, this is not working, go here. This is where you go. Right? They have the ability to break the status quo, and that's a theme of their life, is they're going against the grain. They're combating systems that are outdated, that don't work anymore. And this is why they're heretical. This is why they're known as the heretic, because a lot of times people experience them as heretical. Even when they're not trying to be, they're just being themselves, but this is just like the way they are perceived, right? In my experience working with students and clients, the 3-5 can be one of the most challenging profile lines to live out, simply because of the trial and error component and then the projection component. Those are 2 very difficult profile lines individually. So together they create a lot of tension, usually in a person's life, until they learn how to work with the energy of those profile lines. Angela's like, this sounds familiar. Yeah, for sure. So has my description of the martyr heretic been accurate for you, Angela? What I just described as being your profile experience, has that been true for you? Hello, everyone who's new, jumping on. We are going through a Reflector's chart. Reflector looks like this. They're all white in their chart, and we're talking about the different facets of Angela's chart on here. Next week, I'm likely going to be doing my own chart as a projector. Absolutely, looking back, you can see it all. Yep. Okay, so we're going to talk about the next thing on here that I have highlighted. Again, a full reading takes a long time. So if you go to my site and you want to do a full reading of your chart, you can get a PDF for $99, or you can do it with assistance, meaning I walk you through your whole chart, all the planets, all the things. And it's $227 for that. And it's about 90 minutes. I've tried to make it 60 minutes, but it really always goes over that because it's so much information. But we're going to talk about some key elements here. For Incarnation Cross, which is the next thing you're going to see on this paper, it says Incarnation Cross is really like your purpose. And it's comprised of your sun and earth on your design side and your sun and earth on your personality side. So this design side right here is, we're looking at more subconscious or less conscious activations in your chart. Also, this is linked to ancestry and lineage. Okay, so a lot of the story of what people bring into this life that's connected to things like genetics and lineage come from the design crystal versus the personality crystal, which is more about your soul's directive. So this is more like life purpose, life directive. This is more about your soul's direction and your soul's purpose, okay? Now, your Incarnation Cross is comprised of your sun and earth on both sides. And she is the right angle cross of Eden 3. So a big part of her story, what's really funny about her sun and earth on both sides, it's like mirror images of mine. Like her design sun and earth are my personality sun and earth. And her personality sun and earth are my design sun and earth. I was like, no wonder we're such good friends, girl. We're literally here doing the same job on the planet. So Eden Incarnation Crosses are really here to bring Eden to Earth, bring peace back to Earth, bring that experience of living in the Garden of Eden back to Earth. And this is a huge part of our purpose. And she, in her personality side, in her soul purpose, she has the 6 and the 36, which is about friction and crisis. These two gates are all about friction and crisis. And then on her design side, she has the 12 and the 11. And the 12 is about channeling and receiving like insightful information, especially when it's right here in the throat center. When it's in an undefined white throat center and you have the 12, you really have a gift for channeling and prophecy. And being the kind of person who has all these ideas and is a conceptualist. And actually the 11, which is the gate of ideas, is also known as the gate of peace in the I Ching. So bringing peace, and by way of these new ideas. Now, with those 4 elements, we get this right angle cross of Eden 3. And this, to me, when I look at someone with this purpose, I see an individual who came to understand crisis, understand friction, understand difficulty intimately, so that they could transform that and use their gifts on the other side of their crystal, on the other crystal, to elevate themselves and the world. You can get a reading on my site. It's just shaktiryos.com, and you'll see under services tab, there's different options for readings, and then there's more like in-depth things you can add on to a foundational reading. I also have a manifestation by design course starting in July. So if you're someone who has human design experience and now you want to understand, okay, what's this relationship between human design and manifesting, and you don't have to have a ton of it. You can have a little bit of human design experience and still do very well in that course. I had people join who had no human design experience in January when I ran the course the first time, and they had so many epiphanies because we cover a lot of the foundational stuff in the course as well. So those are kind of two options depending on like what you jive with more. But my site has all the information. You'll see it says services, course, mentorship, like everything I do is pretty much on there right now. All right. So we already talked about her strategy, which is to wait a lunar cycle. Let's talk about themes, emotional themes right here. Every type has, you're welcome. Every type has an emotional theme, right? So for manifestors, if you're a manifestor and you're watching this, it's anger to peace. Okay, if you're a projector and you're watching this, it's bitterness to success. A reflector, it's disappointment to surprise. A generator, it's frustration to satisfaction, fulfillment. So the emotional themes is basically like spectrums of emotions that are like your personal GPS guidance system. Thank you so much for the presents. I have no idea what they mean because I'm so new to this, but I appreciate them. So with your emotional themes, and actually my free downloadable, which is also on my link tree in my bio link, the free downloadable teaches you about this emotional theme. And it's, for me, I call it the way to stay in alignment by design. It's how you know you're living in alignment is when you're living what's called your signature versus your not self. And so like, for example, for Angela, her not self is disappointment. When she is making rushed decisions, when she is not following her strategy and her authority, she is destined to experience disappointment. But when she is living in her design, when she is living in her strategy, she experiences these sweet moments of surprise. She is designed to experience these joyful moments of surprise that really like bring the awe and the wonder back into her and help her feel reconnected to the joy of being alive. Yeah, I felt so much disappointment, says Angela. Yes, like as a projector, bitterness being mine, oh my God, when I am off the cuff, like just not in alignment, I am bitter AF. That is my number one resentment, is like the feeling of the day. So for Angela, it is definitely disappointment. Now again, that free downloadable that I have will teach you about that. And I also include like an exercise for how to get into alignment. Like, okay, so if you want to get into surprise, Angela, for example, what can you do? If you are a manifestor and you want to get to peace, what can you do? If you're a projector and you want to get out of bitterness and get to success, what can you do? That's all part of my free downloadable that you guys can have access to. So, okay. I want to draw attention to two centers on your chart because Angela, you'll notice, is all white, right? Like, but then I orange highlighted two particular centers. The reason being is because she doesn't have any gate activations at all. Do you guys see how there's like nothing? You see how in this one it's white, but she has 3 gates active. This one is white, but she has 4 gates active. 1 gate, 2 gates, 2 gates, 1 gate, 3 gates, right? But here and here, she has absolutely no gates. So that's what we call an open center. It's not undefined, it's completely open, okay? So what does that mean? And why are open centers so important? When you have an open center in your body graph, that means that you have no filter for that energy. So there's no anchoring energy in that center. So there's no way in which you consistently experience that center. So let's say like in her case, she has a completely open G center. There's no gate activation in her G center. What does that tell me? This is an individual who has really no filter for love and direction. It's very fluid. It's very open. This is someone who, for example, I wouldn't be surprised if they were like fluid sexually, if they were bisexual or pansexual. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw something like that because there's so much fluidity in the love and direction. This could also be someone who feels the need to move into different places often throughout their life to find a place that feels better, or they're constantly redecorating their home so that it feels right. They're like moving furniture around all the time, or like doing stuff like that. There is no consistent way of experiencing love and direction. The G center is the place through which we experience love and direction. So they're more susceptible to conditioning. They're more susceptible to transits. They're more susceptible to other people coming into their space with definition in those places, because they, again, are so freaking open. Angela's like, you're describing me. Yeah. That's what I see a lot with that center. And again, with her head center is completely open as well. There's no anchor points there. What does that tell me? This is an individual who, I'm always changing my house. An individual who struggles with the thoughts and opinions of other people. So this is someone who highly can fall prey to the opinions of their peers, or the opinions of their parents, or the opinions of a loved one, because they're so open in the head. Now, it makes them open-minded. It makes them someone who's also very open to different ideas and different perspectives, especially because she also has an undefined mind. But her open head will make her susceptible to not really knowing if a thought or a concept is hers or not hers, right? Like, is this my idea or is this your idea? Like, did I think this was good or did you think this is good, right? See, she's always struggled with having her own thoughts. That's huge with an open head. When you have nothing in an open head, it's important. Most of the population has an undefined head and mind. Like 70% of us have no color in these two. Okay. So this is why marketing works, you guys. Can I just like break right now? I'm going to blow your minds with something. The reason that marketing is so effective and they can like show us these sexy bitches in lingerie that weigh 20 pounds and make us want to like buy the lingerie and lose the weight. The reason that shit works on us is because we have an undefined head and an undefined mind, 70% of us. So the moment we see something that we think we like TikTok made me buy it, you know, that thing. The reason TikTok made you buy it is because you have an undefined head and undefined mind, and you saw it and you're like, oh, that's a great idea. And you were influenced by the thing that you saw. And instead of sitting with like, do I really need this and want this? You just like impulse buy because you're influenced by this external thing. Right? So this is how this works. This is why marketing is so effective. And that's why I like, when I see really intentionally gross marketing, I'm like, because like, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. If you have definition there, this is not your problem. But for those of us who don't, it is. Here's my own body graph. I actually designed this custom body graph. You can see open. I mean, undefined. So. All right, so I wanted to talk about that. Then I wanted to talk about your North Node and South Node. So your North Node and South Node are on this chart just like they would be in your astro chart if you have a natal chart done of yourself. And the South Node is where you leave in your life, simply put. So for example, the first kind of 30-ish or so years up until your Saturn return, likely, you are living more in that South Node energy. And then the purpose of your life is to move toward your North Node, to live into the expression of your North Node, okay? So in her case, her South Node on her design side is in 11, which is the gate of ideas, and the 26, which is about integrity, okay? It's about integrity and being able to tell yourself the truth, being able to make choices that are in integrity, even if you're afraid of the consequences of those choices, okay? So the first half of Angela's life is about, okay, is about living in integrity and figuring out what that means for her, and being the kind of person who is flooded with ideas frequently, often, and knowing what is correct for her to pursue or not. Okay, it's the first half of her life. So Angela, if you're heading towards your 40, you're actually headed towards your Uranus opposition. That's what happens between 38 and like 42. It's Uranus opposition, which is a huge restructuring of your life too. If you're in that age group, just anything that's inauthentic in your life is about to go away. Okay? So just like a heads up. And gotta love Uranus opposition. Okay, so her north node is in the 12, which is the gate of the channel, and then, or caution in traditional human design, and then in the 45. So where she is headed is to a place where she is using her like prophetic and psychic wisdom, essentially, her very strong channel of knowing this insightful, intuitive truth that she gets to communicate to the world and thereby change the way that people work in the world and operate. She gets to combine that with the 45 energy, which is the king or queen gate. So this is about being a very wise steward of your resources, knowing how to manage your money well, knowing how to serve as a resource for your community. So she is moving towards, and the purpose of her life is to become a really wise steward of her wealth and someone who supports their community with her own wealth. Yes, you are a queen. That's your destiny. And with her intuitive insights, right? So really, like, your north node and south node shows you a lot about the trajectory of your life, like just the rough course of where you're going. You'll also notice in your chart that you have these little arrows. I'm going to try and put them real close to the camera so you guys can see what I mean. You guys see how there's a little arrow pointing down right there? So this means detriment or exaltation. So if you have an arrow pointing down in any of your gates, that typically means that you're more likely to experience the shadow of that gate or the less savory natures of that gate. And if you have an arrow pointing upright, that means you're more likely to experience the exaltation of that gate. So you're in a favorable position for that particular gate. I also want to point out her Saturn, because Saturn is the planet of challenge. Saturn is a great teacher, and when I see someone's body graph and I see their Saturn positioning right here, what that communicates to me is what's going to be their greatest challenge. Like, what's going to be the thing in their life that they have to overcome in order to really thrive in the gifts of their Jupiter, because Jupiter is your planet of boon or gift. So her Jupiter happens to be on both sides in the 34, which is a gate of power. So this is about being able to just be involved in a lot of things at once, and it's known as the gate of the multitasker, because you have the power and the energy to do a lot at once and to succeed and find power in that. So this is like what you get to have if you master your Saturn. And her Saturn on her design side is in the gate 50. And in her personality side is in the gate 28. So in the 28, it's all about the struggle. So this is about a struggle for purpose, really. This is about the struggle for purpose, the struggle for a meaning in life. I see a lot of people with this gate really struggle in general in their life. And then the 50 is really illuminates a tendency for enmeshment. So the 50 is part of what's called the defense circuit in the body graph, and it's a very nurturing gate. It's about taking care of others, but almost to like your detriment. Okay, so the shadow side of that is taking too much care of others to the point of detriment. Or also like not taking care of yourself enough to the point of detriment, where you like expect other people to take care of you and you don't take care of yourself. And she has the gate 50 in Saturn, and then she also has it in her Pluto, and Pluto is some shadowy shit. Pluto is like the shadow theme of your whole chart, and it is something that will follow you around forever and will be the major cause of transformation in your life. And in her case, it's the 50. So I would say that as a reflector, having the 53 different times in your chart, to be very, very conscious of how you are potentially enmeshing yourself with the energy of other people and not becoming dependent on other people, and also not letting other people become dependent on you, because it goes both ways. So knowing where to focus, like just looking at your chart and looking at the things that like drive you, your channeling is super strong, and it's in your Mars on your design side as well. So in what you came here to take action and actually grow from, it would be the gift of using your intuitive insight to like channel transformative information. And just looking at your incarnation cross as well, like things like crisis and struggle. Like, I'm not surprised, I know about your life and your work, so I'm not surprised that you were a nurse at one point, that you were drawn to that because you were literally helping people who were in a crisis position. I think that is a correct line of work for you. People who are struggling, people who need support, who need to hear very intuitive, insightful guidance, but you need to find a niche that you want to work with that. Like, where do you want that gift to be? That's like an internal search for you. But this is what you are designed to thrive in helping people with. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, because this is already like, what time is it? Oh my God, I've been talking forever. This has been such a long live. Do you see what I mean? Like, I'm barely covering a lot of her chart, and it's already almost been an hour. Like, this is how long this can be. End of life care, yeah. Right, so you can't do it that way. Like, the way you were doing it is unsustainable. So we just need to find a new way for you to help people with the same level of meaning that you were doing then. She has a gate 19, which is a sensitivity gate. The gate 19 is, I typically see that gate in people who have a lot of sensitivities. So if you have a child with this gate, these are the kids who are like, I can't stand my socks. The line of my socks bothers me. I don't like the tags in my clothes. I don't like, I don't want to eat that food because the texture is weird. Like, this is very typical of gate 19 kids. So I just wanted to mention that in case anybody watching is a parent and you have a child with this, now you understand why. I'm going to close up with a really brief touch on these arrows right here. Oh my God, the texture issues. She's like, yeah, I can't stand them. I know, gate 19 every time. So when you get a foundational, these arrows belong to the bottom half of information on this chart. They're called the variables or the substructure of your chart. This is what's called an advanced reading. So if you go to my website and you get your foundational reading, we're going to cover the top part of your chart and all of these planets, the centers, the channels, all that kind of stuff. And then you can add on after your foundational reading what's called a variable reading. And in the variable reading, we talk about the substructure. Now, why the substructure is so important is because this is where you start to understand how to live your design. This is where the details of living your design comes into play. Now, I talk a little bit about this in the manifestation course that I'm launching July 18th. So if you join the Sovereign Sessions, that's what it's called, which is a Manifest by Design course, we're going to talk about co-creation. We're going to talk about all the centers of the body graph and the gates and the centers of the body graphs. I'm going to teach you how manifestation runs through the body graph. It's what I call the manifestation map on the body graph, and you're going to get to look at where yourself you have that consistent energy connected to manifestation and where you don't. So we do cover some of the substructure, just not all of it. But the things you get to learn here are things like, how do you digest food and information? Not what you should eat, but how do you digest best? What is an ideal situation for your environment? What is an ideal situation for, the way that you focus and pay attention and manifest? What is your ideal way of gaining awareness of the world around you? How do you pick up that awareness? Where is an ideal place for you to live? Like, what kind of an environment would be ideal for you to live in and thrive in? It's very, very helpful and very insightful. But one thing I can just point out right away is that her digestion and her awareness are both left facing, and her environment and her view are both right facing. So she is half left and half right. I myself am entirely quad right, which is not super common from what I see. And the right and the leftness of these arrows indicates an individual who is very specific and focused and needs more structure and routine and rigidity, versus the rightness, which is way more about fluidity and a broader sense of perception. Not focused, but broad. Okay, this is like a general description of the right and the left. The right is the kind of brain that passively absorbs all information. And so we were the kids who could sit in an auditorium and listen to a lecture and maybe take notes, maybe not, but we remembered it. And when we go take the test, we have the answers, right? And then you have the left kids, who are the ones that have to study and they have to take the notes and they have to focus in on what they're learning in order to absorb the information. Whereas I feel like I just absorb osmosis information. So that's the difference between that. Now, this is like a manifestation key right here that I look at for my students, that if I see someone with that right pointed arrow in that position, I know that the way that they bring things into form is much more emotion led and much less specificity led. That's something that I've learned a lot from just observing myself and other right arrowed beings on that right bottom arrow. And there's a whole, all those numbers mean something. It gets kind of specific and wild in there. But how did you experience my breakdown so far of your chart, Angela? Talking about your challenge gates and your boon gates, your life direction, course, purpose. How are you vibing? I wanted to bring her on live, but it didn't work out. So now she has to write through the comment section. Explains so much. Awesome. So this is a reflector chart, my friends. This is what it looks like. There's so much information in this chart, but I really wanted to just hop on and share some of it and talk to someone who was a reflector and have her give feedback about her experience. And again, I'm sorry I couldn't bring her on live. This is kind of why I'm inclined to do lives on other platforms, because you can bring people on live easily over there, whereas TikTok, it's more rigid. But I haven't done many lives here, and so I wanted to come on, hang out with you guys and say hi to my community. I've just recently joined TikTok 2 months ago, so I haven't really spent a lot of time on this platform, but you guys are awesome and you're so interested in human design. And I love that. I love to teach. So, another host, well, I guess you have to have a certain number of followers or something in order to be able to go live, because someone else just requested that. But thanks for showing me how that works. Angela, you have to get on that level, I guess. I don't know. But I wanted to teach a little bit more on live than I do in my short form videos. So like I said, next week I'll probably do my own chart and talk about my experience as a projector. I have been living the experiment of my design since 2016. That's when I was first introduced to human design. It was right in the middle of my Saturn return. It was right after I had my first son, and it dramatically changed my life. And I ignored it for a while because I just thought it was some fun intellectual pursuit. I didn't really understand how deep it was or how it could change my life until I really committed to living the experiment. And that's why we talk about it like that. We say committing to living the experiment, because one thing is to get a reading. I'm happy to give anybody a reading who wants one. one thing is to get a reading about your design, and a whole other thing is to actually live the experiment of your design. And this is why I have courses, and this is why I do mentorship one-on-one, because when it comes to the application of your design, that's like a whole other ball game, because you're going to run into so many things, and you're going to want to naturally live out of your conditioning, because it's what you know, it's what you've done, you know, even if it doesn't really work for you, it's familiar, and so you're going to want to keep doing it. So being introduced to something that's so radically new and alters the way you see yourself and see your life is like a big deal, and sometimes can be kind of like abrasive. You know, you don't really know how to receive this new way of living. You know, it takes time. So I honor that, and I know how difficult it was for me, because when I started, I didn't really have someone to go to like that, to like work with me or anything, and so it took a while to get to this place. Since I had my initial reading last year, things have majorly changed for me. Yeah, and I see that a lot. I have the whole channel of initiation in my chart. I don't know if we can show it real quick in the chart that I made, but this channel right here is known as the channel of initiation. I only have 2 channels. I only have 3 centers. And so my gift, you know, and that's another thing I look at is the channels, and she doesn't have any channels because she's a reflector, but if you have definition in your chart and you have channels, your channels are really a lot about your gift. And so one of my gifts is that's the shaman channel, and I initiate people into a new level of their being, a new level of understanding who they are, and I love that. I love that part of this work. It's so fun. And it's just amazing to see people like wake up to themselves, like, holy shit, like, this is me, this is who I am. Like, yeah, here you go. Welcome to yourself. It's so fun. It's the best. So I'll see you guys hopefully here next week to do mine. And then if I want to do a live with someone else who doesn't have the capacity to go live, then I will likely do it on IG and invite you guys over there, since you can do it over there. Yes, so I thank you for reminding me about the courses. I do have introductory courses in my community now. So the sovereignsocial.com is the name of my community. It's in my link tree. It's a free community just for people who want to hang out and live their sovereign experience of reality. But in the tab section, you'll see where it says courses. I just finished recording introductory courses for each type. So if you're new and you want to learn like basic stuff about your type, like what are the mechanics of your aura? How do you stay healthy? What about work? What about parenting? What about relationships? Things like that. That's where you want to go. They're awesome. They're only $37, and you get to not only have your course material, but then you have like an activity feed where you can connect with other people who have your same aura type, which I think is awesome. And I wanted to create even more community spaces within that space. So check out those intro courses. And if you're really serious about diving into your design and you want to understand how it's linked to your ability to manifest, then the Sovereign Sessions is the course for you. And it's the first link on my link tree. It says open for enrollment right now because we start July 18th. It's a 12-week program. This might be the last time I teach it live. So I'm just saying this, like if you want to learn from me live and you want to have an opportunity to do live Q&A, this might be the last time that I teach it live, and then it becomes kind of like an evergreen course. So get on in there. Also, the first 10 people to enroll, I'm only taking 25 as of now. The first 10 are going to get my manifestation journal for free. I have a manifestation journal that I published on Amazon this year. I'm gifting it to you for free, as well as a notebook that I designed on Etsy, as well as a gift, as an enrollment gift. So that's awesome. You get a bonus sleep meditation too when you join the course. There's just a lot of good stuff that you get when you join. So come on in and join us, and let's get to unpacking. Yay! Manifestation Journal is amazing. Angela was one of the first people to grab it, and it is amazing. I love it. All right, my friends, thanks for hanging out with me, and thanks for being here. This was so much fun for my second live ever that I've ever done on TikTok. And if you loved it too, hang around, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.